Beauty, elegance, talent, and grace are just a few words used to describe our beloved Dorothy Dandridge, an icon and timeless beauty. Despite being a trailblazer for African Americans today, many people are unaware of who Dorothy Dandridge is and her contributions to entertainment. Dorothy was Hollywood's first African American dramatic movie star, first Black woman to present an award at the Academy Awards, the first Black woman to grace the cover of Life magazine, and the first to be nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe. Dorothy Dandridge is one of Hollywood's biggest tragedies, as she broke so many barriers for African American entertainers in her short lifetime, but she never got to truly reap the benefits of her success due to the many obstacles she faced in her turbulent life. This wasn't until the 1980s that her legacy was acknowledged by Hollywood and was finally awarded her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Similar to Van Gogh, she passed away decades before she could witness any of this recognition. Introducing Dorothy Dandridge was a TV movie released in 1999 with Halle Berry playing Dorothy Dandridge. Halle expressed what an honor it was to pay homage to Dorothy. She was a pioneer and a hero to the Black community. She helped open doors and pave the way for all of us, not just in the film industry, but in society. I wanted her to be remembered for how she lived and the contribution that she made. Many young women like Dorothy were lured into Hollywood, enamored by the fame and fortune that it promised. Many of these actresses fell into alcoholism, drugs, or prostitution when their life in Hollywood wasn't as glamorous as they expected. Marilyn Monroe's story is one that gets a lot of publicity due to her popularity as a sex symbol during her time. Since Monroe was a white woman, she outshined Dorothy Dandridge, who not only represented sexuality, but also raw talent, versatility, strength, poise, and natural beauty. Dorothy's story was much more tragic since she had so much to offer but was born in the wrong time. Dorothy Dandridge, a story you should know. Dorothy Jean Dandridge was an American singer, actress, and dancer born on November 9, 1922 in Cleveland, Ohio, to Ruby and Cyrus Dandridge. Dorothy never knew her father since her mother left him while she was pregnant and then moved around frequently so he couldn't find them. Dorothy's mother eventually got in a relationship with a woman named Geneva Williams, who was a cruel disciplinarian to Dorothy and her sister Vivian. Dorothy's mother had a background in entertainment and got Dorothy and Vivian started in show business at a young age in a singing and dancing group called the Wonder Children. They played all throughout the South and had some success until they moved to Los Angeles in 1930, where they developed a new group in 1934 with their school friend Etta Jones called the Dandridge Sisters. Note that this is not the same Etta Jones jazz singer that was born in 1928. The trio had success that audiences couldn't deny. They entered an amateur competition in Los Angeles radio station KNX and beat 25 white contestants. This was a testament to their talent that was undeniable regardless of their race. 2 years later, they continued to maintain their reputation by being invited to host one night at New York's famous Cotton Club. Their performance was so successful, they were given a regular spot performing with big names, such as the Nicholas Brothers and Cab Calloway. On stage, the Dandridge sisters represented one glamorous girl in three. Etta was the lively one with the highest voice, who seemed as if she were ready in a split second to outdance and outmaneuver the others. Vivian was the dishy one with the lowest voice, the most aggressively sexy of the three, and also the funniest, with a cute naughty girl twinkle in her eye and her smile. Dorothy, singing lead, was the soft young one, warm, sensitive, sincere, not as knowing as the others. For women watching them, they were the fetching symbols of progressive, young Black womanhood. The Dandridge Sisters' stardom peaked in 1940 when they toured and recorded 4 songs with Jimmy Lunsford and his orchestra. In the same year, the group separated and Dorothy pursued a solo career. At this point, a separation made sense as Dorothy's popularity was increasing and she would be able to support the family on her own. Dorothy made her solo debut in 1941 tap dancing with the Nicholas Brothers on Sun Valley Serenade. This breakthrough role came about through Harold Nicholas, one half of the Nicholas Brothers, who she met when she was 15 and Harold was 17. By this time, they were engaged, and Harold convinced producers that Dorothy would add talent and sex appeal to their act. Dorothy and Harold got married in 1942, just 8 weeks before her 20th birthday. Their honeymoon phase was short-lived, as Dorothy felt that her husband valued playing golf much more than he did spending time with her. This was also because his golfing gave him freedom to entertain other women. When Dorothy found out she was pregnant, she was very excited. Even though she had much success in her career, she would have given it all up to be a wife and mother. In 1943, Dorothy gave birth to her daughter, Carolyn, who brought much joy to Dorothy's life. It wasn't until Carolyn was about 2 years old that they discovered she wasn't developing like a normal child should. Doctors discovered that Carolyn was born with brain damage due to lack of oxygen during the delivery. This devastated Dorothy since she blamed herself for her daughter's disability. The day Dorothy went into labor, she postponed going to the hospital because she wanted to wait for Harold to return from golfing. She waited over an hour until she eventually got a ride from a neighbor. Dorothy regretted that if she had only made it to the hospital sooner, her daughter would have been born healthy. Dorothy's guilt, coupled with her failing marriage with Harold, took a toll on her, and she had several episodes with accidental overdosing of medication, which she claimed were not attempted suicides, but just due to carelessness. But was it just carelessness? Dorothy's personal life was very unstable. Harold left Dorothy and Carolyn in 1948, which made Carolyn's care her sole responsibility. Dorothy did all she could to ensure that her daughter lived a comfortable life by investing thousands of dollars in medical care. This responsibility encouraged her to focus on advancing her career. Dorothy became one of the first Black students to study at the Actors Lab in Hollywood. Here she met Marilyn Monroe and they became great friends. They were able to connect through the similar tragedies that they experienced in their personal lives, as well as having similar appeal in their professional lives. In 1951, Dorothy finalized her divorce from Harold, and it proved to be the weight she needed lifted off her shoulders since she had major success following it. She became an international star. She performed in various venues in places such as London, Rio de Janeiro, San Francisco, and New York. Despite her stardom, Dorothy encountered racism constantly by not being able to perform at certain venues or use certain facilities at the places she was allowed to perform at. Legend has it that when Dorothy performed at a hotel lounge in Las Vegas, she was told that she wasn't allowed to swim in the pool because she was Black. Dorothy defiantly showed up at the pool in her bathing suit and dipped her toe in the water. The hotel drained and scrubbed the pool the next day. Dorothy made her way back in film in 1953 by starring opposite Harry Belafonte in Bright Road. This led to her next big film starring opposite Belafonte again in Carmen Jones. Carmen Jones made Dorothy a star and crowned her the first African American to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. Carmen Jones was the first all-Negro film that became a great box office success. It established the fact that pictures with Negro artists, pictures dealing with the folklore of Negro life, were commercially feasible. This was a sign of growth that had occurred in the United States and throughout the world. Harry Belafonte. Dorothy seemed like she was on her way to fame along with the likes of Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, and Audrey Hepburn. She became a movie star overnight and became the first African American to be on the cover of Life magazine. However, it was difficult to replicate her success moving forward. Dorothy Dandridge should have been the most famous Hollywood actress of all time, but couldn't because of her race. Belafonte also addressed this issue, noting that his former co-star was the right person in the right place at the wrong time. The tragedy is that she was born about 20 years too early, during a time where her race overshadowed her incredible talent. It makes me ill to think of what happened. She didn't deserve to have those things happen to her. She was too nice, too sweet, too naive. You didn't think of her as anything but a lovely, sweet, beautiful woman who had a tragic life. It became tragic because of the failure of her career, which should have never happened. She let people step over her. In this business, you have to be tough. No one was around to help. Maria Cole, wife of Nat King Cole. Dorothy's soft demeanor often attracted people with bad intentions, people who saw an opportunity to take advantage of her genuine and sweet nature. Dorothy had various short-lived interracial romances over the years, but Carmen director Otto Preminger was the one that stole her heart. Otto was rumored to be controlling and encouraged Dorothy to use discretion in her roles by turning down opportunities that weren't leads or were considered a downgrade. One example was a role as a slave in the 1956 film The King and I, which she later regretted turning down. Dorothy had a reputation of being difficult and the offers stopped coming in. After a 2-year relationship with Otto, Dorothy accepted the fact that the married but separated film director wouldn't divorce his wife and left him. She didn't get work for years because of the reputation she had built for being difficult. So out of desperation, she took on some controversial roles such as Island in the Sun and Tamango, which featured interracial romances. Being lighter-skinned with Caucasian features who seemingly aligned with white people on and off the screen, Dorothy's Black audience, who once considered her their Black queen, were now confused. No one, perhaps including Dorothy, seemed to know where she truly belonged. When Dorothy starred in the 1959 award-winning film Porgy and Bess, she received even more backlash from the Black community for being in a film that perpetuated the many Black stereotypes that they were working hard to combat at the time. I don't think a Black woman has ever paid as great a price for her Blackness than Dorothy Dandridge. Harry Belafonte. Las Vegas restaurant owner Jack Dennison had been trying to win Dorothy's affection for years. She married Dennison in 1959 after he finally won her affection by sending her fresh flowers to her dressing room every single night. However, Dorothy learned as soon as their honeymoon night what a mistake this was when Dennison told her that he was in debt. He basically pimped her by having her invest money into his business and having her perform at his nightclub. With allegations of domestic abuse, Jack proved to be just as, if not more abusive than the other men in Dorothy's life. After 3 years, Dorothy divorced Dennison on grounds of extreme cruelty. She left the marriage in mental and financial ruin. After her career and relationship failures, Dorothy started to drink heavily and rely on antidepressants. She was in tremendous debt and was so behind on her mortgage that her house was foreclosed. Her finances plummeted to a point where she couldn't afford the special 24-hour medical care for her daughter and was forced to place heroin in a state institution. These tragic series of events led to a nervous breakdown. Dorothy would move in and out of apartment homes out of fear that her neighbors and landlords were stealing from her. In 1963, photographers caught pictures of Dorothy at bankruptcy court. Dressed in a dark dress with sunglasses on, the photo appeared in newspapers across the country. Ebony magazine even ran the photo on the cover of the July 1963 issue headlined, "Why the Stars Go Broke." According to Dorothy's manager, Earl Mills, this was a disgrace that tore her apart. She never, after that, was the same person. She became a manic depressive, relying on alcohol and antidepressants. She didn't have much work, so she spent most of her days secluded in her apartment and would talk on the phone with close friends at night who she confided in. She used liquor like a medicine to sort of ease the pain. She was disturbed at times about her daughter who was retarded. She accepted it mentally, but she never accepted it emotionally, I know. She always felt a great deal of guilt about it. That was her tragedy. Friend, writer, and producer, Abby Mann. After years of living in her depressive state, Dorothy called on an old colleague, Earl Mills, to make a comeback. She enrolled in vocal lessons and started working out. She started booking small gigs and signed a deal for her biography. Things were finally starting to get better. On September 28, 1965, Mills reported that Dorothy asked him to delay picking her up to go to the airport so she could get some rest. She didn't call or answer her phone, so he showed up at her house and broke in using a crowbar. Mills found 42-year-old Dandridge dead on her bathroom floor. Close friends of Dandridge reported that they received a phone call from her saying, "Whatever happens, I know you will understand. Don't be shocked. I am tired." She also left notes all over her house. One note read, "In case of my death, to whomever discovers it, don't remove anything I have on, scarf, gown, or underwear. Cremate me right away. If I have anything, money, furniture, give it to my mother, Ruby Dandridge. She will know what to do." She was outstandingly beautiful, and sometimes I think that can be very difficult for a woman. In this town, you can get chewed up, but she never knuckled under one time. They never had to take up a collection for her. She fought it through. I think she died of exhaustion and a broken heart. Dorothy died with a little more than $2 in her account, and there are speculations on if her death was due to an antidepressant overdose or if it was due to an embolism from a foot injury. Her body was cremated, so we will never know the true cause of her death. But what we do know is that Dorothy was in a league of her own and paved the way for women of color. Our sweet Dorothy may have felt that she failed, but if only she could be alive today to witness how she has influenced a new era of Black entertainers who value her achievements. Actresses like Halle Berry, Viola Davis, and Angela Bassett would not be where they are today if Dorothy didn't break down the barriers that she did in her short lifetime. She redefined what a movie star was during the dawning years of the Civil Rights Movement. She is the icon of strength, elegance, and stardom that still lives and breathes through our industry today. And this is why Dorothy Dandridge is a story we should know, love, respect, and honor.